Yo, what is good, everybody? It is your boy Golden Falls, Golden What Ifs, whatever you want to call me, and I am back. This is a brand new Deku What If. What if Deku had a friction manipulation quirk? As always, if you guys enjoy, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, leave a comment down below, all that good stuff. Make sure to check the links in the description for the Spotify, the Discord, and also the membership if you guys want to check that out as well. And yeah, I don't have a ton to say. I know I've been saying this for a while now. I'm trying to get back to Shield Hero stuff, but things came up and I was just like, you know what? I have what ifs and I have ideas already set aside, so I'll just do them. I most likely will do a Tanjiro one. The next what if we do will most likely be Tanjiro. And just to, like, you know, mix it up a little bit, because I don't want to just do my hero. I'd like to, you know, do Shield Hero. I'd like to do Naruto eventually, and stuff like that. So we'll get to it. We'll get to it. Don't worry about it. But yeah, that's all I really got to say. I don't want to waste much more of your time, and I want to get right into it. So let's get it. Izuku Midoriya is born into a world full of quirks, superpowers, or really whatever you want to call them. And normally in his world, he is born without a quirk at all. But this time around, at the age of 4, he would be at the doctor's and he would learn that he would actually have a quirk. Yes, a quirk that is a little bit different than anyone else's quirk to an extent. And one thing he wouldn't even think that he would get, thinking that he'd probably get something similar to his mom's, maybe something to do with telekinesis or something like that. But he would get a quirk that would be interesting, like very interesting. And they explain it to him. They explain that he actually is going to be able to manipulate friction. And it's really the friction of anything that he can touch, he can focus on, and all of the above. And he can increase, he can decrease the friction that is being created from any substance, from, I mean, the ground itself to the air that is around us. He can do all of it. And there's a wide range of offensive and defensive things he could utilize. And I feel like the one portion, or the doctor believes to say that the one portion that he immediately thinks Izuku will probably think of is being able to run real fast, in which that is something that Izuku definitely wants to try out. He learns, like, oh, I can run fast, like, I can get moving, I can do this, I can do that, and that excites him. And that's exactly what Izuku starts messing with. He starts trying to run quick, he starts trying to move around a little quicker, or a little better, a little faster, and a lot of these, or his mother is really trying to keep him a little bit more grounded. I mean, she's like, I mean, Izuku, like, I get you're having fun, I get you're doing this, I get you're doing that, but let's make sure that we're smart about this. Nobody wants to get hurt. She doesn't want Izuku to get hurt. And at the end of the day, nobody, you know, wants Izuku to fall straight on his face on accident, right? Nobody wants to get hurt overall. So we got to make sure we're careful. We don't want to do anything too crazy, too outlandish, and somebody gets hurt. So of course, there's a little bit of a halt on what he can do and what he should do, because she, obviously his mother, wants him to take things slow, which is ironic because he does have a quirk that makes him go very fast. But at the same time, it does make sense, right? You don't want to overdo it. You don't want to overdo yourself. So there's aspects of his quirk that she wants him to learn about. She wants him to understand. So this would lead Izuku to really studying up on the various ways he could utilize his quirk. Really just understanding friction itself. That's something that he really wants to get a grasp on. So he becomes a lot more enlightened in terms of everything that he can do, everything that he can get into, and everything that he has the potential to do. He starts messing with various different ways, various different things. He starts even utilizing stuff, like he changes it so the plate that's on the table literally cannot fall off the table. It doesn't matter if you smack it as hard as you can, the plate literally won't move because the friction itself is so great that it halts it entirely. And he starts small. Away from the super quick running, he wants to try every aspect that isn't running itself. And this continues on for years to come. Izuku, all the way up until he's 15, is trying various different ways to actually utilize his quirk outside of the insane, quick, kind of fast-paced running that he believes would be in all honesty, pretty dangerous, but at the same time would have the most value in terms of his quirk. Of course, he does train in everything. He tries a little bit of everything, right? The running, the increased friction, the lesser friction, the anything you can really think of in terms of utilizing friction, even creating it so he's able to literally walk on air to an extent. But of course, that is something he's not or has not really gotten down in its entirety. But it is something that he is working on, something he continues to try and grow, and something he continues to try to get better at. And as this time would go on, eventually he would have that last day at his high school, or his middle school, excuse me, where they're talking to the teacher, and the teacher basically says, like, I know all y'all want to be heroes. I know everybody here wants to do this and do that. And Izuku's like, yeah, that's what I want to do, right? I want to be that great hero. I want to be the next big hero. And Izuku hears his teacher talking about this and saying, like, Izuku and Bakugo are the only ones trying to head forth toward UA High School. And in his head, all he can think about is the fact that he wants to get this done. He wants to make sure he can do this. And he wants to make sure that he can be that great next hero. He wants to make sure that he has a true chance. And that right there is something that is going to really help him evolve his skills. And for the next 10 months or so, he wants to try out his new powers, really get a hold on some of the aspects he really wants to get into. Now, after this is kind of, talked about in the classroom and stuff, eventually they would all be allowed to leave, and Bakugo has a little bit of a skirmish with Izuku, saying, like, he better quit now, because there ain't no way that Izuku is going to get into UA, that himself, he's going to get into UA by himself, and he's going to put this crappy school on the map. And at the end of the day, I mean, Izuku truly believes this, like, with his entire heart, his entire being. He believes that he can be just as good, if not better, than Bakugo. He doesn't believe that Bakugo is going to be the only one to kind of take that next step, that Bakugo is going to be the only one to prove to everyone that coming out of this cruddy school, I mean, will be a great hero, and Izuku's going to prove that he can get it done. And this would lead him to leaving the school that day, and he would start heading home. He'd be writing down things in his journal, some various different things, and eventually he would see something. Eventually he would hear something, and that right there, it would scare him. In just a small course and a small window, Izuku would be attacked by something or a villain known as the Sludge Villain. The Sludge Villain would come surging at Izuku Midoriya, and Izuku would think, should he run? Should he fight? What should he do? And eventually he comes to the decision. The decision is to halt the Sludge Villain in his place, and that's exactly what he does, halting the Sludge Villain entirely and making it so that he literally cannot move. The Sludge Villain entirely is just unable to move at all, and he's struggling. He's like, what's going on? Like, what the hell is happening? And Izuku tells him that he basically made the floor that he's standing on impossible to get away from, impossible to move from. And he basically tells him in a way that it's like glue. It's sticking to him, and it makes it so he can no longer even move a singular inch. In which that right there is shocking for the Sludge Villain, and the Sludge Villain realizes that someone's still coming, that he's going to come get him, he's going to stop him, and he's going to defeat him. And he's in shock, trying to get out of there, but he can't move, not at all. And eventually the person would arrive, and the Sludge Villain would get Detroit smashed by All Might in one foul swoop, and obliterating the heck out of the Sludge Villain, and would blow him into little tiny pieces. And the Sludge Villain would be out everywhere, basically. And Izuku would get out of the way, luckily, and he would come back to see that All Might's right there. He would be shocked to see this, but he would begin to ask All Might, like, do you think he can be a hero? Do you think he can do this? Do you think he can do that? And he asks him a ton of questions, and All Might's sitting there like, well, kid, with the quirk you have, with the potential you got, I could see you being a great hero. You can do it. You just have to put in the work and do anything you possibly can to take that next step. In which Izuku nods his head and thinks, like, you know what? Yeah, you're right. I just have to put in the work. And he looks at All Might and says, do you have any suggestions? Like anybody that I can follow a regimen or do something? And All Might's like, you know what? This kid's cool. Like, he's smart. He understands that it's going to take hard work, and he's willing to put in that hard work. And he tells the kid that regimen, all that stuff, I mean, it doesn't necessarily matter to an extent. He tells him to understand his quirk, figure it out, learn about it, and really, really study it, but also hone it. Take every little bit of it and just kind of understand it to the highest level you can. And Izuku nods his head and says thank you as he would leave and head home, and he would immediately start preparing for anything he could do. And for starters, he would start on Dagobah Beach. Yeah, it's a little dirty, and he would actually decide, you know what, I'm going to make it so I clean up this entire beach as like a way to train with his quirk. And he makes it so that a lot of these things are frictionless, or the ground is frictionless below it, so he can just slide the items out and away. As he does this, he cleans up the entire beach in like a pretty quick succession, and it allows him to actually utilize the beach to run on. He runs, and he trains himself to get full control over the friction. Every step he takes, every move he makes, he wants control over it all. And he just does this the entire time. He controls his friction, controls his abilities, allowing him to get a really good handle on running. And this would allow him to eventually utilize this kind of way of running that's like zero friction skating, and it allows him to like skate, but also it would lead him to figuring out that he could utilize this to make it so he could run at insane speeds, but controlling it is the hard part, leading to him kind of learning how to redirect his momentum and even be able to learn how to crawl on ceilings, run on walls, and many things like that. Even running on water itself, which somebody sees and they're like, that's not the crazy, that's got to be the craziest thing I've seen in a while. And they would kind of freak out about it and be like, what the heck is going on? How are you able to walk on water? In which Izuku continues to train in different aspects that don't necessarily involve fighting, but aspects that definitely will help him in the long run. That even includes kind of creating ways of trapping different things, trapping different villains, which he tests out kind of on himself and also on other things, making it so like he can get a good grasp on changing the friction so that the person or the thing is fully stuck in place no matter what. Being able to take down an opponent or get rid of an opponent's items, or kind of make it so like an opponent can't have a gun or anything like that because it just gets stuck to the ground or stuck to their hand or something along those lines, is something that Izuku really likes to do and really figures out. But there's one other thing he really wants to understand, one other thing he's trying to figure out, and it's the ability to make his entire body borderline frictionless. And as this happens, they would try to basically hit him or punch him, or he would get hit by something and it would just slide right off of him, making it so that he basically doesn't get hit, that his kind of friction or the friction on his body would reduce any hits. The attacks would slide off and would kind of not transfer the impact from one thing to another, allowing him to just avoid damage entirely. But that's something he doesn't really know if it will work or not. Honestly, he doesn't even know if he's doing it properly, but it's something he's trying to get a hold of. This would eventually lead him to training for the next 10 months, leading him to the UA entrance exam. And the UA entrance exam would go perfectly, because after the written portion, which was a little bit difficult, but he studied hard and he wanted to make sure that he was ahead of the curve here, he would then go into the practical portion of things. And as he goes into that practical portion, he starts kind of working up his attitude, thinking, you know what, I can do this, I got this, I can get this done, I can win, I can do this. And right when those doors open, those gates swing open, Izuku would go blazing forward, getting out of there instantly, and he would start destroying these freaking these robots, like just straight up punching through them as he makes his fists kind of even more durable in a way, but also making them fast enough so that there's just no way he can't send his hand through them. But on top of that, he makes it so that these robots are easier to push over, are easier to deal with, are kind of easier to do this or do that. And Izuku continues to mess with this and continues to, like, you know, do his own thing in that regard. And he continues to, like, destroy robots by just pushing them over at really fast speeds. Now, is he going at like 1,000,000 miles per hour? Of course not. There needs to be some control there, and that's what he's maintaining. He's trying to maintain at least an inch and a little tiny bit of control. But at the same time, he's continuously just getting better and better at what he's doing. And he's running through these robots, destroying these robots, pushing the robots over. And eventually, he's able to actually have a good little session and a good kind of way of really getting ahead of the curve here in terms of defeating a lot of the robots, eventually leading him to getting a pretty high score, and eventually as well showing off the 0-point robot, in which he's actually able to save a girl who's trapped in under rubble by the name of Ochaku Uraka by just speeding her out of there, getting rid of all the rubble on top of her and grabbing her and just speeding straight out, in which everybody watching is like, you know what? Yeah, that's pretty damn impressive. And they're not exactly sure how he does it, but it seems like his whole quirk does involve like friction and all that stuff. But one thing they really look at is kind of his comparison to someone like Tenya Ida, which, by the way, Tenya Ida, yes, being impressive to an extent, is another kind of speedster-like hero. But Izuku isn't just speed. He's not like a fast hero and that's it. He's actually quite a bit more than just that. And he's shown it throughout this time, especially being able to help Ochako get out of harm's way and also halt the 0-point robot in his wake. And the reason why he's able to halt it so at least easily is he focuses on such a specific part, or a very specific part, on the robot itself. He's not going to make the friction change of the entire robot, just make the friction change of certain parts of the robot, allowing it so the robot can no longer move, or if it does try, it would kind of trip over itself because it would be partially stuck and it would fall straight to the ground. And that right there is pretty impressive overall, and this would lead to him passing this exam, and not too long later would get that letter, that really cool letter from All Might and UA that tells him that he has now passed that said exam. And after that exam, or that UA entrance exam, is over and done with, Izuku would be awaiting his final, or his first chance, to kind of show off what he can do at UA High School itself. And when the date would come through and he would finally get that chance, he would head off in excitement and he would join Class 1A. The first thing he would notice is that the door is massive and every single person there is so different. Everybody has various different quirks, various different abilities, and all the above. And one person he eventually sees is Katsuki Bakugo, someone he obviously expected to see here, but Bakugo is pretty mad looking and pretty pissed because he didn't get the #1 student in this class. Izuku did. But he doesn't know Izuku got it, and that'll be a friendly, hilarious thing to check out, and hilarious thing to really to see and hear about, because when everybody is told to get the hell out of the classroom because they're going to do a quirk assessment, the first thing that Aizawa says is that he wants the #1 student to step up and throw the ball as far as possible, and that student is Izuku Midoriya. And everybody is pretty impressed. I mean, Ochako being there as well even says, like, Izuku, right? I mean, he's pretty impressive. We saw what he could do, but Bakugo, he didn't get to see the full capabilities that Izuku did, and he's angry about it. Very, very angry. And this would lead Izuku to throwing the ball, reducing the friction like entirely, throwing the ball as far as possible, and it goes sailing through the sky. Like, it goes insanely far. But of course, gravity does exist, so eventually it does slow it down and does shut it down entirely. But at the same time, there was very little, if not no, resistance while flying through the air. So Izuku was able to chuck the ball pretty damn far, and it was pretty damn impressive. But he is throwing the ball at the same normal speed, like if you threw it normally, as a normal person. Or he's probably a little bit more than a normal person because he is pretty damn strong overall. but it would go pretty far. I mean, a couple hundred probably meters. Bakugo might be able to do better than that, and ends up showing that he could do better than that. So he doesn't really try to attack Izuku, but Izuku shows him up in almost every single other category. From the grip strength, from the side steps, the speed tests, and everything else you can think of, he shows up Bakugo and shows up really everybody. And even Tenya Ida starts feeling, I would say, a little bit inferior because, well, he just watched someone do what he's supposed to be really good at and did it a lot better than him. And this would make him pretty upset. Now, not upset to the point of he's gonna hate Izuku by any means, but upset to the point where he's like, damn, I need to be better. I wish I was better. I wish I was more prepared. There has to be something I can do to kind of get myself to be even better than what I'm showing right now. And this is great because Izuku is inspiring someone like Tenya Ida to work harder, get better, and just produce himself or prevent himself from falling behind. And that right there is something of really a great thing to really have. And Izuku sees it in the eyes of Tenya Ida that Tenya, he doesn't want to fall behind. He wants to be great and he wants to show off and wants to show that he's the best. But unfortunately, he's going to have to fall short in front of Izuku, not once like here, but actually twice. Because after Izuku shows that he's of top 3 caliber in his class in the Quirk assessment, the next day they would actually face off. Izuku and Ochako, versus Bakugo and Tenya in heroes versus villains. Bakugo's team being the villains and Izuku's team being the heroes. Their goal is to touch and grab the bomb within 5 minutes. They have 5 minutes to plan, 5 minutes to prepare, and then eventually they would have to try and get that bomb. Now, Izuku's plan is pretty simple. Actually, he has an idea. He has Ochako with him, and they climb the building itself, climbing it pretty quickly, but Izuku's able to basically put her on his back, make it so that she's able to stay there or makes herself a little bit lighter with her gravity quirk, and Izuku climbs the building, and they eventually find the window that the bomb is right next to. They would then break through the window and touch the bomb before any encounter would even happen, and Tenya's in shock. He's thinking, whoa, that is pretty damn crazy. He's not just fast. How was he able to do that? And he wonders, maybe that was all Ochako. Maybe Uraraka was the one that was making them float so they can climb through so easily and blah, blah, blah. But eventually Ochako even says, no, that wasn't even really me. That was really all him. And they're like, whoa, are you serious? That's pretty insane. How were they able to do that? How was that even a possibility? And Izuku basically says, his quirk isn't speed. His quirk is not necessarily the ability to run fast. It is the ability to manipulate friction, in which he says, that he will be able to utilize this for other people as well to an extent. But he also was able to utilize this to kind of take his whole ability to move and his ability to run, jump, and anything you could think of to the next level and be like a superhuman to an extent. And that right there is shocking to Tenya and even shocking to these other students that hear about his quirk from him. And they're like, whoa, I did not know that's how that would work. I had no idea that that you could do something to that degree. In which Izuku, well, he kind of just says, yeah, I mean, it's just what he was gifted and what he was given, and the quirk he's been really training with for, well, his entire life. But he says seriously, he's been training with it, a serious amount for probably 10 months or maybe even a year, right? That's how long he's been super training hard with it. But for his entire life, he's been studying and trying to figure it out, which is even more impressive. And All Might even says, this is something that people need to get through their heads as well. That having a quirk isn't just training with it. It isn't just push-ups, sit-ups, and plenty of juice. It's also studying it, understanding it. Understanding every aspect of your quirk will help you become that much stronger. And Izuku is absolute proof of this. And Izuku, well, he just showed up almost every single person there. And yes, other students have a pretty impressive kind of showing, but Izuku's showing of what he can do continues to impress teacher and even student. Now, with that said, their next portion of training will be at the USJ, a rescue facility that they're going to get into, and a rescue facility that that they really want to figure out and really kind of understand and also prepare with. Now, after some interesting conversations and other things like that on the bus, Izuku would be excited. I mean, this is his thing. This is his jam. I mean, he's going to be able to save people, help people, and really do what he can do. But unfortunately, he wouldn't get that chance because villains would invade and villains would surge through and stop all of their rescue-like training. This would be the League of Villains. And Izuku, before you know it, would be teleported away, unable to actually do anything. I mean, he's unable to actually kind of react to this, and he's immediately put within the water. As he's put within the water, kind of like in this kind of more water-esque lake-like area, Izuku now kind of has a choice to make. What does he do? How does he get out of here? And luckily enough, Asui would swoop in and save him, in which Izuku tells her like they should be able to get out of here if they just stay near him, and he could basically make it so that they're able to run on the water. In which Asui says like that's a good idea, but would they be able to get them while they're running through it? In which Izuku says as long as they're careful, they should be okay. Like, they shouldn't be able to get them, but they also could try and just jump across. In which she says, like, she can't jump that far. But Izuku says that, well, she might not be able to jump that far, but he could also make different pockets for her to jump on, or make pockets throughout the air that are like, you know, able to have him or her stand on for just a short amount of time. And when she thinks this is a great idea, and they go jumping across the sky or jumping across the air, and Izuku makes these pockets, allowing them to kind of jump from pocket to pocket, or like kind of small little place to place, and it allows them to cross the entire lake and allows them to get out of harm's way, leading them to kind of getting to a safe distance. But a safe distance is not really a thing when you have portals. And there's a portal that gets created right in front of Asui, and Asui is about to be grabbed in the face. But as this is happening, Izuku makes Asui's face entirely frictionless. So when Shigaraki tries to grab her, it would just immediately kind of like slide right off of her, and he would be unable to even touch her and utilize his quirk. He would be in shock, like, what? Like, how is that even possible? What even happened? But before you know it, Aizawa is already going straight in for the action, and would be immediately on top of Shigaraki and kicks him directly in the face, and also he's able to get out of there and get out of harm's way. And Izuku helps them leave as well, and he would look to see that Tenya is actually gone, in which he'd be told that Tenya was told to run off and get help ASAP. They were trying to look for Izuku, but unfortunately they could not find him, and it seemed that he already got teleported away. In which Izuku nods his head and says, yeah, I mean, it is what it is, but he's fast too, so hopefully he can get there in a relatively good time. In which Izuku would then kind of tell everybody that they got to do something to help Aizawa. They got to do something to help him, in which as they're saying this, they see that the Nomu is about to punch him in his face, and Izuku goes blitzing away, running at insane speed, so fast that he grabs onto Aizawa and even kind of cracks a rib a little bit, in which he apologizes, but Aizawa says that the damage would have been a lot worse if he didn't pull him out of the way. In which Izuku says that he can stall the Nomu, he can stall him out as long as he doesn't go for anyone else. In which Izuku begins to run around the Nomu, move out of harm's way, even halt the Nomu from time to time with his friction, and Shigaraki is getting pissed about this. He's very, very angry about it. I mean, he's like, this kid, he's just playing around, he's just messing with them, but Izuku really isn't doing that. He's just stalling out the fight, waiting for the eventual arrival of another hero, and that would be the one and only All Might. All Might would jump into the fray and immediately strike down the Nomu a ton of times. Izuku would give him openings, making it so that the Nomu's feet were like full of friction, like so much so that it would basically make it so that he couldn't even freaking move, like borderline unable to move at all, and slows him down entirely, even slowing him down to the point that he can't really fight All Might to the way that he was basically created to do so. And as all this is happening, as All Might is getting the upper hand, and as Shigaraki is getting impatient and tries to help, this allows Aizawa to actually get in the fight once again as well, letting Aizawa actually take down Shigaraki, and even some of the other people like Izuku and also Bakugo and even Todoroki help with the takedown of Kurogiri. And as those other villains are crumbling, as the villains seemingly are losing kind of really badly, All Might would launch the Nomu outside of the area and outside of the USJ, ending the fight in one foul swoop. Kurogiri tries to actually get Shigaraki out of there, and even tries to create portals to get him out of there. But Izuku would use his quirk to make it so that Shigaraki can't even move. Like, he's unable to actually go through the portal, and Kurogiri is unable to actually react to this and make it so the portal kind of just, swoops him out of there. And of course, Shigaraki would be unable to actually get out, and same thing with Kurogiri, unable to move and unable to actually get out of harm's way. And luckily enough, the other heroes would eventually arrive to help out as well, and they would capture Shigaraki, Kurogiri, and the rest of the villains that are there, halting the League of Villains' progress and halting this attack before it even actually occurred. Izuku would be absolutely exhausted, and he would be laying down on the ground gasping for air. And he would be exhausted from what he was able to do and exhausted from doing everything that he did, leading to the eventual kind of obviously after the arrival of all the heroes, the eventual kind of leaving of the USJ. And the USJ, it's all said and done, and everybody is out of there for good, and luckily no one is actually hurt, and luckily no one actually, got, killed or anything. And luckily enough, everyone is good, everyone is out, and everyone is now safe. And after it is all said and done, after it is all handled, they all kind of get a couple days off, a little bit of a break that would lead them eventually to the kind of first chance at showing off their abilities to the entire world, being that of the USJ. But even Izuku, he's kind of exhausted. Even after days of kind of rest, he's exhausted to the point where his whole body feels like it's aching. It feels like it's being just about to fall off. I mean, he utilized his quirk so much, way more than he ever has in training and all that it really, really is hurting his entire body. And he even says this and says that he doesn't know how much he can utilize his quirk. So during the USJ, or during the UA Sports Festival, he tries to utilize very little bits of his quirk, and yes, he's able to do his thing during the obstacle course race and kind of get out without anything crazy, and he's able to pass that part of the UA Sports Festival. But the cavalry battle, I mean, it becomes a little bit more difficult. And he tries his best to help out, tries his best to help his teammates out, being that of Ochako and Tokiyami and Meihatsume. And luckily, he does get quite a bit of help, and also helps them as well. And luckily enough, they're able to just pass to the 1v1s. But Izuku, well, he unfortunately is caught off guard by Shinso's mind control, and without being able to really make himself stop, and without being able to utilize his quirk, which he actually might have been able to utilize, and can feel that he actually might have been able to actually use his quirk to stop himself from walking off, he unfortunately is stopped and told to walk off the stage, and Shinso is deemed the winner. And this frustrates him. It frustrates him that he lost, and it frustrates him more than anything that he didn't give a good showing. that he wasn't able to show off the way he really wanted to, and he feels like he just lost an opportunity to be greater, to be better, and he feels as if he really let people down. He let his mother down, he let his friends down, but everyone's cheering him on. Everyone is happy, everyone's cheering, and even everybody in the stadium is still impressed at what he was able to do. Now, they don't know what happened at the USJ, but they're impressed and pretty intrigued at what his quirk is capable of. And there's one person that wants to give Izuku an opportunity to really kind of level up his game and level up his abilities. And that person is someone we know very well, and that's Shota Aizawa. Aizawa, after it is all said and done, after they get their hero names or come up with them and all that stuff, Izuku would be asked by Aizawa if he would like to join him and Shinso in training with him. He would learn different ways of fighting, different skills of fighting, and even how to utilize his own his scarf, or a pseudo version of Aizawa's scarf. Izuku says, yeah, like he would love to do that, and he would love to try to learn from Aizawa and pick his brain, which Aizawa nods his head, says the kid has potential, and it sucks that he wasn't able to show that entire potential off at the UA Sports Festival. But at the same time, the kid will continue to kind of show this insane ability, and this kid can continue showing off what he can really do, and he can show off by getting better, by being better, learning how to fight with his hands, learning how to properly fight, and on top of that, utilize his scarf. All of these things will help him, especially with his ability to manipulate friction the way he does. I mean, he could be an even greater hero than Aizawa at shutting down some of the overpowered or powerful quirk-like users, and Aizawa believes this to his absolute core, that Izuku can really be that next step in this generation of heroes to be even greater than Aizawa or Eraserhead himself. And Izuku begins this training with Aizawa and Shinso, trying to learn and honestly getting a lot better at not only utilizing his quirk, but utilizing some of the techniques that Aizawa is showing them, and also utilizing the scarf that Aizawa allows both of them to use. Izuku, the whole scarf thing, not really his thing. He allows Shinso to utilize it for the most part, but the techniques and fighting, and also Aizawa's vast knowledge on how to utilize various quirks, and also just Aizawa's knowledge on how he believes Izuku could utilize his quirk is helpful in its entirety, but it is unfortunately cut short when they hear that someone by the name of Tenya Ida, their friend, their student, or a student, their kind of classmate, actually got almost killed by the hero killer, and everybody is in shock because he is stuck in the hospital on death's door, and Izuku can't believe what he's hearing. And after some time would pass, and eventually their final exams would come up, the first thing they would hear before the final exam would ensue is that Tenya Ida didn't make it, and that unfortunately he passed on, and that his legacy, they're going to have to carry it on tougher and closer than they could imagine. And it's not anything they thought that they would burden themselves with, and it's not anything they thought they would have to think about when thinking about their friend that was, well, at one point right beside them, had the same aspirations and had the same chances that all of them had. This would lead Izuku to thinking that he's not going to give anything a second thought. He's going to level up to that next level, and he's going to carry the art of speed, the ability to run right with Tenya Ida's kind of his kind of ghost, or his kind of spirit, and he's going to carry that alongside him. And Izuku would get that opportunity. After the written portion is done, he would get an opportunity to team up with Bakugo to face off with All Might himself. And he tells Bakugo, he knows that they've never gotten along very well. He knows that they haven't really seen eye to eye, but he wants to show everyone that they can work together and they can set aside their petty little rivalry and shut down the greatest hero to ever exist, and shut down this entire thing and prove to everyone that they are that good and they really are the next generation, in which Bakugo looks at him and then tells him that as long as he has his back, that he'll have Izuku's back, in which Izuku nods his head and says that he wouldn't have it any other way, and they would face off with All Might for the very first time. A battle between two prodigies and the greatest hero to ever exist. But that battle and that face-off will have to wait to the next part 1 of 2 of What If Deku Had a Friction Manipulation Quirk. And if you guys enjoyed, please show some love. Leave a like, leave a sub, and leave a comment down below. All that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. And if you did, show all the love you possibly can. And I hope all y'all enjoyed, and I hope all y'all have an amazing day. Later.